Welcome to Archway's Threads, a show focusing on the threads of family and recovery support services that help make up the tapestry of life in recovery. Join us as we share stories from peers and participants in the field and practice of peer recovery support and family support and strengthening. And now, your host, Archway CEO, Michelle Lennon.
Hello, I'm Michelle Lennon, and I'm one of the co-authors of the Family Threads curriculum. And we are joined today by one of the families who have completed the program. And we are going to hear from them how they have come from, active addiction, living in crisis, living out of a Jeep, experiencing homelessness, to entering treatment, and then coming out of the treatment program and then working with two of our employees, a family support specialist and a peer recovery coach. And they have come back to visit today just to talk about some of the things that they went through and the successes that they have experienced. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Lennon, and I am with one of our families from our Family Threads program. We have Marina, Star, and Colton with us today, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the program.
Good.
All right. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, what caused you to engage with the Family Threads program to begin with? How did you end up meeting with, I think it was Tanya that you started working with, right?
It was Brett initially because we had just did a program at Ferry Centers through Kodiak, and we were on a time crunch because I was pregnant, and we needed a place that would help us with resources and getting back on our feet. And initially I was kind of opposed to it because I'm not huge on reaching out for help because I don't know if the help is going to be genuine or if there's going to be genuine attached to it. But that's definitely kind of described that here when we walked in. So that's good. Yeah.
So you entered recovery with the treatment program, and then afterwards was looking for those supports.
Yeah, because unfortunately, when we were leaving Friday Centers, they didn't really equip us with things that we needed in order to continue recovery. They might have just booted me to the door. And they're like, all right, now it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
And with the baby on the way, it was vital importance to get housing, to get a vehicle, to get all the necessary things so we could raise a healthy boy. And it's because of you that we have a soul and,
So really, though, we created opportunity for you. You guys did the hard work, though. I always think we're not the heroes, the families are the heroes, right? And I think we talked about this a little bit, just about, you're going to meet us halfway, there's work to do. And when you started the program, we worked with a number of assessments, one from Colorado, the Colorado Family Assessment. When you did those assessments, what did that feel like?
It's a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know kind of what the results would be. And I'm not huge on sharing market information. I didn't really want that to be used against me. And I think when you're in active addiction, you're used to people just looking at you in a certain way and treating you in a certain way. So there's a lot of fear being disrupted and not being taken seriously.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to take that leap of faith and you have to trust in the process.
How hard was that, though?
Pretty tough. It was kind of I was so afraid and I don't know why it's how I wasn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today you have 2 years that you haven't had a drink or a drug, and it's been how hard to maintain that?
After, we got out of place and, Colton, it was definitely a lot easier.
Yeah.
For me anyways.
How important was having housing to your success?
Not important. The constant fear of not having a place to land in time cold. I didn't want DCYF to come in and be like, you're unsuitable. It's okay because you don't have a place. And so we didn't sign a lease until a week before he was born. So that was so sort of timing. But I mean, there's a lot of fear because, as a parent, you never you can teach it. I mean, at least for me, like that would destroy me if I picked up. So that's why I try every day to be the best that I can possibly be.
And you've done a lot on your life already. Yeah. So what have you done for schooling since this all happened?
I'm too great. I'm a perfectionist and I'm very hard on myself. So it took me a bit to actually write that paper and to submit it because I kept getting in my own way. Um, but lo and behold, I was accepted. I just signed up for my courses. My schedule's set. Uh, everything was going really smoothly. Now, the first time in my life, it kind of feels surreal
Mm.
because, when you've been in active addiction for so long, you're always waiting for that second shoe to drop. Always on guard, you're always looking up for your shoulder, you're always anticipating the worst. But this is the first time where it's been a stretch of just goodness.
Mm.
Be waiting here.
Yeah, you've worked hard. You both have. I mean, I think to myself how it's not easy sustaining recovery in the early days to begin with. And then you're also dealing with being pregnant,
Yeah.
I think housing, it was kind of overwhelming, at first with all of the work in new place where you had to, put out paperwork and, that you guys made that, so a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because Tanya came in. She's a force fear. She came in and she was like, "All right, this is what you got to do. This is what you had." And then I was like, "All right, well." And then I jumped on filling out the application. I brought it back to the Tilton location, and I was like, "All right, so you did what you were asked." And she's like, "All right, now I have a look here." And it was over 250 applications that were signed.
Yeah.
And we got probably 10, 12 rejections before we got okay. But it was not.
Her and Gina just sat down with us and we went over everything. And
So 200 housing applications, 12 rejections before you got on. How hard would that have been for anybody to do on their own without support?
I mean, it's kind of where the book comes to play.
Yeah.
And I think when you're new to recovery, you're still kind of in the headspace of you need instant results because of the role of addiction now. You use you drink because you get instant results. So he kept reminding me like, patience is a virtue, something this. You just have to keep doing it and waiting. And I'm nothing else to teach you this.
No, it's hard when you're doing the right thing and good things don't happen right away. I think it makes you wonder, why am I doing this? And, all like that.
I have a lot with yeah. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't feel like we're going to be able to be in time. But then, and like, that's the thing that I think I would advise anybody, especially in the early stages, is that no matter how hard it gets, you gotta keep putting it. You gotta keep showing up. You gotta keep putting time into it because nobody's gonna do it for you.
And that's, really fighting against your own physiology when you're doing that too, because in early recovery, your executive functioning is still impaired and having that support for filling out paperwork even, can be so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody asks you what the benefits of the program or throughout, like, can you think back? Like, it sounds like filling out paperwork. I do think like for people in recovery, when we look at the stages of recovery, we know that executive functioning takes time to get back. That need for instant gratification is so present, and when it doesn't happen right away, and systems work slowly. And you guys had a heavy deadline. How was managing the stress? Like, did having the peer recovery support worker help you to manage the stress of all that?
I would say, yeah. I know her and Gina talks a lot.
I mean, I know Gina, both for me, Gina and Tanya were the two driving forces that kept me on track. Because there were so many times we came to meet the government and it's under solving. because we were getting closer and closer to the due date and nothing was happening. Um, but I think, having people that you can trust and who will kind of share your emotions and your feelings will, validate them. And, it's like being seen as human for the first time goes a long way.
Mm. It's important to have all the resources too. I think about, the treatment programs, 30 days and you're supposed to be good on your own. Like that's not reality, right? But you still need that interruption to using
Yeah.
to kind of stabilize that. And, and then coming into a program that has that recovery coach that is non-judgmental, has been there before, understand what you're going through and could just,
To relate to.
yeah.
So I mean, they said understand and we don't judge.
Well, like
That's
you
good,
can
too.
tell when you go into a place that's getting remembered. And I think that the beauty of Archway is that there's a lot of genuineness with the people who work there. And it's just a feeling that you have like a punch that you have. Like I don't know those people. I have a hard time listening to people. I want to connect with people. People just incredibly true. And I think having somebody like you guys who, didn't have an agenda, who didn't, have strings attached, you did it from the goodness of God's heart. And that's what made it possible to kind of rub it into full gear to keep going. Keep trusting, and keep trusting that something will get.
And now you're working on some big goals, graduate school and social work and studying, trauma informed process.
It feels surreal because, I said this to you not so long ago. Like I've accomplished more in these 2 years than I ever did with my 12 years of binge drinking. That says a lot,
I think one of the key things is not to stop setting goals now, for your lives, because sometimes we get through the crisis and then stop setting goals. And then that's when life gets a little stagnant, and just never stop growing,
Yeah, that's exciting we do have, because when you start forgetting what you have in front of you, that's when things get a little dicey.
Yeah.
So just like counting your blessings every day, and you have that, you get to wake up to this beautiful boy every day, and then we get to wake up to each other and sober, and that, our bodies are healing and our brains are healing, and that we're actually doing something good for ourselves, and we're not a menace to society anymore. Like that's enough fuel to keep going.
Yeah. So did you guys enter recovery together, like at the same time? You did?
Yeah, it's a different places at 1st
For detox.
and then into adulthood's place.
And then kind of tackle this together as a couple. I asked the question because there were a lot of people that have been programmed kind of by, I'll just say, 12 step and some of the things that were the only games in town for a long time for recovery supports, who think that people cannot recover together and that families can't recover together.
We get that a lot.
Yeah, we got a lot of pushback at Variety Center. So no, you guys can't do that. And that just drove us to move them around, because it's like it's not your place to tell us what we can and cannot do. And I think it made it more possible doing it side by side, because and it allowed me to understand him more and to be more empathetic to his journey and struggles, because honestly, I don't know how to word it, but I guess like because we met when we were actively drinking, I never took the time to slow down to like, okay, like he's doing this for a reason. There's pain, there's a lot of obstacles that he had to overcome. And so I think doing it together, like keep that relationship straight.
Yeah, because you're doing the work together.
Yeah.
You're not the first couple that we've worked with that stayed together and entered recovery together and supported each other through the process. And my family, I think I told you, we stayed together. Like you have well-meaning people like, oh, throw him out or break up with him or whatever. And one of the things that we train our coaches is that you don't get to decide somebody's identity for them.
Yeah.
You know, if they're identifying that they are a couple and they are going to do this together, then you support that.
Yeah.
You know, that when we talk about person-centered practice, you know, I do find some programs talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, they still want to tell you what to do.
Don't like to be restricted by certain guidelines. And honestly, I think sobriety sometimes kind of sucked out of us because it was a requirement. To stay at the sober house, to go to the meeting,
And it works for a lot of people.
yeah.
And, you know,
Not saying like don't engage in anything. I think my biggest feeling advice is you really got to listen to yourself. You got to be a leader in your recovery. You want just
yeah.
you got to find out what's best for you. Because I know that the biggest chances for relapse is when you're not doing stuff.
Yeah.
When you're following the crowd, because you might get good rapport by going to meetings and stuff. But I can't sit in a room for an hour.
Well, there was one thing I did pick up from people at the meeting is that it's not meant for everybody, but at least you can learn some rules and take it with you.
Sure. And you know, the more tools you have in your belt, the better. You know, and I would say that people come to recovery in different ways. People support their recovery. You can think about it. It's fine. You can take it. Yeah. Bye. Well, just bye.
So snazzy.
He's cute. He knows what he wants and he gets a response. So it's good parenting right there, right? So
I mean, I think being sober, that's helped to release. How do we want to create the home environment? Because we both came through a very chaotic family growing up. And there was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of judgment, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of fear. And that's what led me to pick up a drink when I was 12, because I was like, I can't sleep at night. And I would have to put a dresser in front of my door because there's no lock. So I think in getting sober and having a kid, it's like, all right, now I have agency and I get to kind of dictate how this house kind of functions. So we have a rule. There's no arguing in the house. There's no anger. If we're upset, we talk it through. We don't scream at each other because we know that it affects Cole. Because kids pick up on energy. So
yeah. We talk about the knowledge of childhood development, as being a protective factor for parents. And, just seeing like the servant recurrent relationship, between dad and baby, and mom and to baby and mom to dad and dad to mom. Like, that's like what we dream of for parents. And just wonder, how did you get there?
It took a lot of work with each other to understand, because I think communication is huge for us. Even if it's a difficult situation, it's uncomfortable, we always talk it through. Because now it's not just about me and it's not just about him, it's about us and the little family that we're growing. And the way that we navigate it is going to have an effect on it. And so our goal has always been to raise a kid with kids that don't have to heal from their childhood. And I know that's pretty ambitious, but I think it's doable. I mean, I wish I didn't have to heal from everything I went through. I wish that, things were different, but I wouldn't change what I've been through with the world because I'm living to this moment right here.
Yeah. And you're going to change the world for others. I mean, people don't go in for the kind of social work you're talking about without making a difference in other people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I know that our systems are broken. And I know that they're all intertwined to each other. So when one system is broken, it has a domino effect and it leads into another system. And, you hear people complain about how there's so much homelessness and drug use and alcoholism, and yet they're not doing anything to help. They're not the solution. They're just adding more.
Mm. And I don't think that's the intent of most people, but I think, doing some advocacy work, I've seen that people often don't understand.
Yeah, there's fear. There's fear because
Or they assume.
yeah. I'm like, I get it. I mean, with addiction comes some manipulation. There comes, you're not really in the right state of mind to handle life appropriately. So I know my biggest mistakes happened when I was drinking. But I think everybody has a chance to redeem themselves. And I've learned through my recovery that even when you get sober, even when you're doing well, some people just won't forgive you. But I've learned that forgiveness is not for them, it's for yourself. Because when you forgive yourself, you're allowing the energy and the time and the effort to go into things that matter instead of holding the credit and beating yourself up. So it's been a learning experience for sure, and it's been hard.
I think too, like the role of the recovery support worker in the Family Threads program, especially, is to give the individual or individuals in recovery that ongoing support, right? So they've been there, so they know, like, not everybody forgives you.
Yeah.
But so how do you cope with that?
Yeah.
And how do you learn to cope with that? And we tend to stay temporally, like, and counselors kind of look back at our past trauma and kind of unpack that.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We tend to look at, okay, what's happening today? What can we control today? And how can we help you decide to have a good day today?
Right. It's the little things that really count. And I also believe that it's the environment that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I don't partake in the 12 steps in AA, because I am somebody that very susceptible to other people's actions.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's to relapse, that's not good for me.
Okay.
I can't be around that.
Yeah.
Because I can't even have that be a thought, because I don't want to lose my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose what I've built so hard to obtain legitimacy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like that's a choice you have to make every day, because it takes 2 seconds to destroy what you've built.
Thank you for listening to Archway's Threads. If there is a topic you'd like to see us cover, email us at podcast@archwaysnh.org or call us at 603-960-2128. Visit our website at archwaysnh.org to learn more about the Archways family of recovery and family resource centers.